What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. I'm once again joined by Tyler. In this video, we're going to be keeping up our Star Wars kind of content we've had on this channel. We've talked a lot about Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. We're actually going to be talking about Star Wars Battlefront 2 over the next couple days as well. And in this video, we want to go over a rumor that's, circulating around the internet of a new Star Wars TV show, specifically for Disney Plus, that would be coming out in 2020, a Star Wars Rebels sequel, and how rumors suggest, and we're going to, talk about it in this video as well, that it would feature Ahsoka and Sabine as the main two characters. Now, that doesn't seem maybe all that surprising, but I'm gonna hand over to Tyler. We're gonna talk about basically why this makes sense, why I think 2020 seems to be, if there's any year to do a show like this, 2020 seems to be that year. So, Tyler, what do you think about the rumors? Do you think this show could work? Why does it make sense? Especially for Ahsoka, I think it makes the most sense to have, really capitalize on her returning really just to the screen in general in 2020. So what do you think about all that?
I think it totally makes sense. So the Clone Wars Season 7, and there is, I don't know if it was a rumor, I don't remember where I read it, unfortunately, but I did see that they are considering like a Season 8, where like this won't be the final season. But that comes out in February, 12 episodes, so that probably, because I assume it's gonna be that weekly release, just like most of their things are. So that puts you almost into like the spring, late spring. And the rumor for this show, the Rebels sequel show, is to be coming out in the fall. So that does kind of make sense to give that little summer break there. And I don't know, I think it makes a lot of sense to do it this year, kind of like Alex said, because you heard Ahsoka in The Rise of Skywalker speaking to Rey. You even had Kanan, his voice was heard. So again, two characters from Rebels they were in The Rise of Skywalker episode 9. Then you're kind of starting off 2020 with the Clone Wars. Ahsoka's back, a little bit older. And, so again, you're going to have Ahsoka, who's a fan favorite, on Disney Plus, and, in Star Wars, like Star Wars content for 2020, for a couple of weeks, 12 weeks. And it makes sense to finish the year with Ahsoka. So really, I'm picturing 2020 as the year for Ahsoka. In fact, I would even say, and Alex actually is going to have a video about this, ironically, and that was before he even knew about this rumor. I would even say that we'll probably see Ahsoka be added to Battlefront 2, just to really like round out the year, where 2020 is the year of Ahsoka. So I think it really does make sense. Star Wars Resistance flopped, canceled after 2 seasons. They won't say that, but it was. It's done after 2 seasons. Rebels was 4. 4 or 5 makes more sense. That's more of like a successful show, especially when it's animated like that. So, Resistance didn't really work out. People didn't really care for it as much. People didn't really like the art style as much, where the Clone Wars and Rebels people do like a lot more. The ending of Rebels, where I don't even know, she's almost like a Jedi monk, Ahsoka, looks really cool. Ahsoka and Sabine kind of get together, and they're going to go find Ezra Bridger, and it's after Return of the Jedi, so after the events of Episode 6, before the events of The Force Awakens. So likely, this Rebels sequel show with Ahsoka and Sabine will fill in the gap for what's going on with Ahsoka, Sabine, and maybe even point us and bring in Ezra by the end of that this season, because it'll be a new series, not like Rebels season 5. It would be a new series. Maybe bring Ezra back, and it's almost like with season 2. Now Ezra would be part of it, so it's almost like a sequel to, or it literally is a sequel to Rebels, is what I know. I'm saying that, but literally, like, that was Rebels before Episode 4, and now this is Rebels before Episode 7. So there's a lot that they can do. I mean, that's a 30-year span. There's a lot of different things that they can do. You had Kanan. We find out that I think her name was like Hera, and Kanan, she was pregnant, had a baby boy, so there's a little boy. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave him like the Force powers, and maybe he's going to be a little bit older. There could be that whole element to him. So there's a lot that they could do, and over that 30-year span. So it's kind of interesting, because technically, and this actually makes a lot of sense, technically because The Mandalorian fits right into that timeline as well, and that would also be fall 2020, and we know that it's now confirmed season 2 for The Mandalorian. That's in that same time period after 6, before 7. So we would get different perspectives of what was going on between those two films over that 30-year span. So that would be really, really cool because they could kind of piggyback off of one another. Which, this just came to mind. Maybe that opens us up to maybe a live action Ahsoka show in the next couple of years. That would be pretty awesome. So yeah, I mean, overall, I think again, it is just a rumor, but I do think that it makes sense. I wouldn't be shocked if it was announced in the next couple of months, or not even. Sorry, if it was announced, I should say. I wouldn't even be shocked if it was announced right before the end of the 12th episode of the Clone Wars. It kind of makes sense. It all works together. It all kind of flows together. With the ending of Rebels, they definitely set something up. So I'm not surprised that they would do something with it. Again, Ahsoka's a fan favorite. Why not? She's already in the Clone Wars. Why not bring her back for a Rebels sequel? Continue the story that way. The Rebel show was really successful. The Clone Wars was really successful. Both are really loved by fans. So I think it really totally makes sense, especially with that rumor. And again, maybe this is what they're going for. Maybe this is some of the work of Kevin Feige, where he with Marvel, how they're doing the shows, they're doing the movies, and now the shows, people in the Disney Plus shows, any of the characters will be able to be in the movies, and vice versa. Maybe that's what they're going to start to do with Disney and this Disney Plus, where yes, it's animated, but it's still canon, so those characters can exist. Maybe the Mandalorian can show up in this new Rebels sequel. That's a possibility. There's also the rumor of a Luke Skywalker show of him, starting his Jedi Temple, and it would be animated, probably similar to Rebels. Maybe Ahsoka knows Luke. Maybe Luke knows Ahsoka. Maybe they work together. Maybe they did a couple different missions or something together. You see what I'm saying? How it would go back and it could totally flow all together and tie it all in. Don't forget that 2022, or is it? I think it's December of 2022 is when we're gonna get the next, like the start of the new Star Wars trilogy, whatever that might be. So they do have all of 2020, all of 2021, and almost all of 22 until we get the movies back. So really, Disney Plus is going to be the home of Star Wars, so they have to do this kind of stuff, and really, it makes sense. And if they do it, I'm not biased, but I feel like if they do like what I'm saying, that really could generate and bring in way more interest, because now you're going to be able to say, oh, I recognize these characters, so I've watched them weekly for a few weeks, few different shows. I've seen Ahsoka. She was on The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian was on this Rebels sequel. Ahsoka was on the Luke show. Maybe The Mandalorian somehow was too. They could tie it all in, and then when you enter the new trilogy series, and you can maybe possibly bring in Ahsoka or mention them or whatever, it's all tied together. However that they're going to do it, I don't know how they're going to do it, but they can make things make sense. Just like how Rebels, they introduced that in between worlds with the different time and all that aspect. It makes sense that Ahsoka could do those kind of things. Dave Filoni kind of hinted that she's not dead. There's other ways, almost like she's like Gandalf, Lord of the Rings, like Gandalf the White. So she's able to exist in some other way. So there's a lot of mystery that they can throw into this and really grow the Star Wars lore in a new and unexpected way. So it actually totally makes sense for the Star Wars franchise. I think it could work. I'm excited to see if it's true. I think it is.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, and what you said earlier, like even creating like an extended universe, I think that's a fantastic idea. And I believe they even talked, I thought I saw an article a few days ago even talking about the Mandalorian himself and how like can the characters in the TV shows eventually make it to the movie. And I believe the answer was yes. So I think that's honestly a phenomenal idea. And going to what Tyler said earlier, like 2020 being the year of Ahsoka, I know we said Sabine too. And you know what? She's not someone you can overlook as well because she's I don't think she's as popular as Ahsoka Ahsoka, obviously, but these are two very strong, for all the people that are all, empowering women, which is totally cool. These are your two best examples, I think, in that order. Ahsoka is a phenomenal, phenomenal character that everybody loves, right? She's a very powerful character, but she's also very well written, really, ever since the very first time we saw her in that Clone Wars movie. So she's been like a staple of what it means to be a strong woman for Star Wars. We see, again, like in 2020 with the Clone Wars, again, kicking us off. I think she will eventually be added into Battlefront 2. So really, there is no better time. I don't necessarily think Sabine would have the biggest treatment like Ahsoka, but even to what Tyler said, I mean, now I feel like Episode 9, although, it did a lot of things good, it did a lot of things bad, it definitely did plant the seed, especially towards the end there, of all of these different Jedi in Rey, but talking to Rey. And, I think if you're like not a diehard, you may not even know who Ahsoka is, but that's the first kind of planting of like, yeah, there's other characters, these people, although Ahsoka has never been live action, we've never seen her on the big screen, although again, like that, the first movie, that Clone Wars movie was, in theaters, but a lot of people, I think, I wouldn't necessarily say the majority, but a lot of people that went to see Episode 9, they may not know who Ahsoka is, but that's the first time you hear that character, you see her name at the very end, and that starts to make you wonder. So I think that is the first planting, and then obviously with Clone Wars Season 7, so many people are very excited. I mean, we're very excited for it as well, seeing her back. So to then, it's you can look at it as just building. It's also capitalizing on just this resurgence of her character, how a lot of people want her back, how a lot of people have been asking for it. Again, if they put her in Battlefront, her and Sabine in general as well, just being a pretty big fan favorite. So this makes, in my opinion, makes a lot of sense to me. I think this is definitely the way they should go. And like Tyler said, with Mandalorian in the fall, one, that would be very cool to start to see a lot of crossover, but two, the fall in general for Disney Plus, not just Star Wars, even if you add Marvel in there, is going to be absolutely insane. So we're very, very excited for the possibilities. I think, if nothing more, we're very excited to see where a show could take it. I mean, any show, like Rebels and Clone Wars are definitely the two best animated ones. You could argue better than most of the movies. So any kind of return or addition or anything like that to those shows is definitely something I think like worth signing up for. So guys, let us know in the comments below. What do you think? Do you think Ahsoka and Sabine will appear or will be the main characters of this new Star Wars show? What do you think it'll be about? All those kind of things. Let us know in the comments below. If you haven't noticed, we've been covering Star Wars quite often on the channel. We, like I said, Battlefront we're going to be talking about soon. We've been talking about Rise of Skywalker. We'll be talking about the Clone Wars. So we talked about Mandalorian. So loads of Star Wars content on the channel if you guys are into that. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.